This is part 3 of my storytelling fundraising podcast series. Bradley and his group look at Jacob stunned as the principal says, "Bradley," the principal says strictly, "you and your group either pack up and come with me or be quiet and not disturb others." Bradley looks to his group and to the principal as the principal says, "And I'll only say it once." Bradley stands up and turns to his gang. "Come on, gang." The security guard comes to him and his gang. He turns to Jacob as they leave. "Let's finish this another time." The gang also stands up as they are led out of the room with the principal and the security guard. The door slams shut. Jacob turns to Mrs. Bennington along with the rest of the class, facing forward. "All right," she says, standing up straight. "Let's continue." An hour later, the bell rang. "School's over, everyone," says the principal on the intercom. "School will return in 2 weeks. Have a wonderful memorial vacation." Jacob walks out of the classroom with another boy, a 5.9 foot tall African American with brown hair and green eyes looking at him. Jacob's hand is still on his chin, him looking at his textbooks. "What you thinking, Jake?" "Nothing, Roberts." They continue to walk in the hallway. "You know, if Bradley and his gang ever try to beat you up again..." "It's not that," Jacob replies. "Then what is it?" Jacob shakes his head, then looks at Bradley. "Nothing." He responds back with a pleasant smile. "As you say so, bro." "Hey, Jake," says a smooth female voice behind them. They look back to see a girl with black, golden brown hair and blue eyes look at him. "Juliet," Jake responds, shaking hands with her as they walk slowly to the exit. Robert's still walking with them. "How's life?" "It's good," she responds, looking straight into his eyes, smiling as the teachers and security continue to say to everyone, "Have a nice break. See you when you return." "What are you going to do over the break?" asks Jacob, looking at her while at the same time looking at Roberts. "Everything," Juliet again smoothly says in return, smiling. They walk out of the gate as a red car drives up to the drop-off and pickup zone. Juliet walks over to the car. "See ya," Jacob says to Juliet as she grabs the door handle and opens it. "Have a nice break." "Thanks," Juliet smiles back as she enters the car. The car drives off as Jacob and Roberts walk away from the school. Later, "You know," Roberts looks to Jacob with his hand on his chin, his mouth smiling, "I think she likes you." Jacob shakes his head, chuckling as they continue to walk. "How could you say that?" he asks. "The way she looks at you." "You say that too much." Roberts shrugs. "Look, bro, she and her friends look at you each and every day as you walk by them. Since, well..." Roberts stops again, with his hand on his chin, looking at the sky, as Jacob looks at him. "Come on, Roberts," Jacob says, looking down the street. "We're gonna miss the bus. Don't be a jerk." Robert sighs and looks at Jacob. "I'm not being a jerk," he says, smiling, then walking again. "I'm just thinking." Robert places one of his hands in his pocket. "You and her?" And he takes 2 puzzle pieces from the pocket and places them together. "Come on now," Jacob slowly says while rolling his eyes and then again shaking his head. "Even after what she did to me on social media? For no reason?" "You may never know what's really happening," Robert says. But one day, a horrendous roar pierces the air as the 2 boys look at each other. "The bus!" Jacob exclaims in his head as he yells out in flurry. "Hurry!" The two boys run with their backpacks, flying as they rush at top speed down the street. Across the busy street, a formally dressed woman comes from a sandwich shop. As she enters her black Cadillac car on the crisp day, turning on the engine, she touches a button on the LCD screen with a word on it named radio. The speakers of the sedan come to life as a man's voice is heard. "Good morning, everyone," he drones the woman, knowing of the rat's nest she's going to drive in again, presses her foot on the gas. Moving at a snail's pace, the only thing she can do is wait and watch as the street is packed with hundreds of people. She touches the screen, turning up the volume to hear the news. "Meanwhile," says the news anchor, "in Russia, demonstrations between a crowd of protesters and an automated car manufacturing plant exploded as protesters threw rocks at the plant, and police in riot gear protecting the plant. More details will come in when and where they arise. Protests here in New York, though not violent, are being watched by the police." The woman sees from ahead a group of about 30 policemen and women coming to her. Behind the group are many people, both men and women waving signs, marching down the street. Maybe this is the cause of all this traffic, the woman thought. She rolls down the window as a policeman comes to her, also with many more heading to the other cars behind her. "We're sorry for the inconvenience," he said. "However, a protest group has been blocking traffic lately." "What's this protest about?" asks the woman, noticing the recent news report seconds ago. "The robots?" The policeman nods his head as he says firmly in reply, "Yes." "Are you doing anything about it to move traffic?" asks the woman. "I got important business to do." "We already agreed to move to a staging point near the factory, and the factory agreed to those conditions," he says as the protesters behind him move farther and farther down the street, chanting slogans like "Bots equals war! Learn from your lessons! No bots! No bots! No bots!" The officer looks back to her, saying, "As long as the group moves smoothly, we can move traffic as well." He turns away to go to another car. The woman rolls up the window and stares off into space. The news reports come and go as she slowly closes her eyes. She instantaneously awakes as a loud, heavy pound hits her window. There is the officer who came to her earlier, yelling along with the other officers, pointing forward, "Traffic's clear! Move forward!" Time, 11:45. She pushes on the gas as the car moves down the street, turning left on the intersection, making its way up half a block down the street to an intersection, where another load of traffic is met. She looks out the window to see more people than what she has ever seen in New York, and lots more police officers patrolling around with shotguns, assault, and sniper rifles. The light turns green as the car continues forward, to hit yet again traffic. A sudden announcement hits the radio. "We interrupt this regular broadcast to bring you a special report from the Outer Space Defense Agency office, New York, in 5 minutes, says the man's voice on the radio as the woman looks out the front of the car. She knows that in 5 minutes she will be half a block away. She looks to see another intersection and steps on the gas. As she nears the intersection, chants a few minutes inaudible steadily increase. She realizes the chants are coming from protesters. She firmly grips the steering wheel as a man's voice on the radio drones. "We report a strange anomaly heading in Earth's trajectory. The agency is investigating upon the matter. We will provide more information when the investigation is complete." The woman presses the gas, realizing hairs on the back of her spine rising. In the building, Overlooking the group of protesters, Rachel, in her office, looks out of the window. It's the day of orientation, the day my dream will come true. She touches her clothes. My formal suit, black and white, is all I wear for today. She then goes to her purse of the same colors, looking into it. With my purse too, because I am going to treat Chris to lunch after. She brings out her wallet, smiling. I got the bragging rights. More money than my husband. And after that means she suddenly feels cold as she paces back and forth from her desk with a hand on her chin. But those protesters outside are causing a racket. She places one of her hands on her head. The police pressured us to accept those conditions. At least it couldn't get any worse. She again goes to the window, looking outward to the crowd of protesters, hearing them roar. Could it? A knock on the door brings her about, facing it. She looks at it, saying pleasantly with an annoyed sigh, Yes? The door swings open with a French man coming up to her. Director Wagner. Yes, Francois, she says, looking into Francois's eyes, his face filled with wrinkles. The police are requesting if you let the protesters outside into the building, because it's causing a traffic jam out there. Oh no, not again, Rachel thinks as she places her hand again on her chin. She feels as if the world is caving in. Why would they want to let them in when they have the power to create a detour? There are so few roads to detour, Director. Or the protesters could protest some other day. Francois flings his arms in the air in disgust. We've tried everything, but they won't budge. Rachel finally places her hand on her head as a small teardrop falls from her left eye. She immediately wipes it off and brings down her hand, looking at Francois. Okay, let them in. The police are requesting if you let them into the hall. She again places her hand on her head, looking down on the ground. 2 teardrops fall from both of her eyes. The hall? That's where orientation is. Why does this have to happen to me, God? I cannot believe that I accepted this. Oh, please help me. Rachel again instantaneously wipes off the tears as she looks straight into Francois. They understand they're asking too much, but they said only for today. Only for today, right? Rachel asks, annoyed. Yes. She places her hands on her hips and sighs. All right. Go ahead. Thank you, Director. And Francois walks out of the room, closing the door. Rachel looks at the clock and annoyed thinks, Where's Chris? He's supposed to be here by now. It's already 12:10, and we have 20 minutes. She then goes again to the window, looking at the traffic as the protesters slowly disappear into the building. Maybe it's all of the traffic jams? She sits down in her chair, looking out, waiting. With every single minute passing, her sarcastic smile slowly turns into a sad face. What's taking him so long? She grabs her phone from her purse, typing, Chris, where are you? What's keeping you long? She places it back in her purse. She looks out the window to see the streets, a rat's nest of cars. She looks back at the clock, 12:25. Rachel takes a few deep breaths and then straightens herself up. Hurry up, Chris. You said yourself that you'll be coming. Why aren't you here? She turns her seat back, facing the desk where she looks at the ceiling. She places her hands on her forehead, her heart feeling heavy. Oh God, there has to be some reason why you're letting me feel this way. You don't go around doing stuff like this without purpose. If only. A sudden knock brings her up. Sighing, "Come in." The door again opens, and there's Francois. Behind him, both men and women wearing formal attire walk down the hallway. "It's beginning, Director." Rachel shakes her head, but then grabs her purse. She brushes her hair with her fingers as they go out of the room, down the hall to the elevator. She enters the elevator with Francois by her side, and other people who passed them before stand packed like sardines in a can. The door closes as Rachel feels the elevator descending. She brushes her hair again with her fingers as Francois looks at her smiling. She smiled back, noticing the fear in his eyes. She rolls her eyes. This day turned from happy to gloomy. Can't it get any worse? A few minutes pass till the elevator comes to a complete stop. Showtime.